Hey, okay, I got a great question on my Snapchat, basically asking how can I recover in the off season so that I don't get injured for next year. So basically, for my Snapchat, BrianK019, if you're not following me on there, definitely go follow me. In my what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk through my GA lean body program and the recovery strategy in there, because it'll give you a little bit of context on what to do in your off season and what to do in your in season to avoid the risk of injury and actually improve your performance. So what you want to do with the recovery strategy, obviously assuming everything is right on your training point of view, that you've got movements that are getting your glutes to fire, that are strengthening up your core, that are strengthening up everything, loosening up your hip flexors, keeping everything firing so that you're stronger, faster, and able to jump higher for next season. And you've got nutrition on point, that your body has more energy, you're recovering, you're refueling glycogen stores, and your supplements are all supporting your goals to build muscle, lose fat, improve performance, improve mental cognition, whatever it is that you are doing in the program. For example, in my GA program, you'd be based around whatever your specific goals are. Assuming all that is on point, then your recovery strategy is what's going to move you to the next level. The key between the players performing at the top level, and I've worked with people that I played with Kilkenny senior hurlers and played with Kerry senior footballers. I've worked with Galway minors. I've worked with people all over the country from different variations of or different levels of the sport, and the key is the people at the higher level recover better. They're training harder, they've got their nutrition and supplements on point, and they have a recovery strategy in place that they're able to recover between sessions. There's obviously a little bit of genetic talent between different levels of people, but the reality is those guys are able to work harder because they're recovering better. So in a recovery strategy, you want to focus on keeping everything loose through your body, particularly if you're following a hard gym program, which is going to straighten you up and make you faster, because on top of that training, if you're not recovering and using things like myofascial release, some isometric stretches, PNF stretches, and some form of trigger punch and tension, you can end up getting really, really tight in those muscles, which can increase your risk of injury. So the key is really making sure that you're able to get your recovery strategy in place and do it at the end of every workout so you stay loose. Number one is your myofascial release, which is basically like a foam roller. You want to make sure you're loosening up your quads, your IT band. There's 3 points in your quad you want to look at: the inside of your quad, the above your patella, and then your IT bands with the outside, which can get really tight and pull on the tendon. It's like a band on your knee, and if that tightens up, it can pull on the tendon and give a lot of people knee tendonitis. You want to make sure that you're loosening up your glutes so that your glutes are able to fire faster, and that you're able to keep everything to your quads loose so that your hip flexors don't get tight, which again can affect your glutes, which can increase your risk of injury through a groin or a quad, or it can get your glutes to not fire as quickly, which can lead to a host of problems on top of one of being slow, and then a weakness in the kinetic chain where you run the risk of pulling a glute, pulling a hamstring, pulling a calf, or lower back, and anything up that kinetic chain. So you want to make sure that you're keeping everything loose around your hip flexors. You want to make sure you're keeping everything loose around your quads, and then your glutes and your hamstring with the trigger point tension. So I normally use a slit or a hard ball. Find the tension point in the hamstring, push down on it slightly, and that'll start to release out some of that tension. So they're kind of the main areas. Again, in my GA program, I've got the full body, so I've got things through the trap, through the lats, to keep everything loose through the kinetic chain, but they're the ones you really, really got to focus on to make sure that you're not getting injured coming into a season. So your myofascial release is number one, your trigger point tension is number two, and then the areas that you use, and isometric stretches through the hips, or dynamic stretches through the hips, like Bulgarian split squats that keep your hip flexors loose, is going to massively support you in terms of keeping yourself injury free in the off season. And then in the in season, you'd be prioritizing that over, say, extra cardio and stuff, which is in my lean body program. There's an in season and an off season, so your recovery strategy is the same, but the way you do it and the amount of time and the order you do it is different depending on what stage of the season you're at. So I hope this video makes sense. So what I would do is, if you've got any teammates, make sure to tag them down below. So hopefully it'll help you coming into your off season and coming into next season, because I know we're only a month away from the new season. So hopefully you are ready to smash it for next year. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, I'll be replying to comments in the next 24 hours.